What I'm seeing now is that a lot of these kids don't think they can play in college due to everybody thinking I have to be D1. Our goal is to expose kids to NINA, NJCAA, NCAA Division Two and Division Three, so kids know that they can play at all different levels and still love the game.
Volume 2.
This is our show. Introspective Insight. Introspective Insight. Peace, love, and all that good stuff. I am King Dev, that's Magic Gretzky, and this is Introspective Insight, the Black Wall Street podcast, and we back with a guest. But before Magic goes and introduce him, we're going to get into the word of the show and the quote of the show. The word of the show is abstruse, and that simply means difficult to comprehend. The quote of the show, did I say quote of the show the first time? Or did I say word of the show?
Word.
Okay, cool. The quote of the show, well, that was the word of the show, abstruse, difficult to comprehend. The quote of the show is, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced, by James Baldwin. Magic, who we got on the show today?
On this show today is someone I met in the neighborhood. And within that neighborhood, there was about 10 or 15 other kids with us. We played, whatever. We found out from our older brothers that we are cousins by marriage. And then as time go on, we go to the same school. He graduated the year before I got there. He's the person that inspired me to get into track. Not only him, as well as my best friend. Him and my best friend inspired me to get into track. I used to see him and my best friend now jogging or running. Oh, we're going for it. We're not playing. We're not doing this today. We're going to go jog before. We're going to go run a few miles before. So I used to always look at like that and be like, what the fuck is y'all running for? Because I didn't understand it. But then I got into it 11th grade. I quit 11th grade before my first meet. Then I got into it in the 12th grade, and I went through the whole season of indoor track. And that's all because of this guy here. This person also, we found out that he has a brother who's actually is blood related. So it's like, goddamn, this whole time, it really is cousins, not just by marriage. This guy here also inspired me to be not so mean to people. You know, sometimes I could be a little mean. I'm a little spicy. This guy helped me. This guy helped me by the way he moved and the things he does and the way he talked to people. Helped me, inspired me to be more nice, be more open, stop being so closed in, being able to talk to people. Even if you don't know, wanting to plant seeds into the younger people, not just younger people, but even older people. You see trash in the ground, pick the trash up. Stop littering outside. You see somebody in need. Even though I used to do it here and there, but you see somebody in need, and you got it at that moment. Lend a hand. It's okay to lend a hand. It's okay to speak to others. A lot of people have a hard time to speaking to people that they feel don't have as much in them as them. He helped me also, not only him, but even the person on my shirt, DMX. But he's also inspiration of when people call other people bums. I hate the word bum because of this guy here, but also not everybody have it all. So I always say the less fortunate. He's a guy that helped me stable that into my vocabulary when it comes to people that are less fortunate. The things that he done, it's a list of things I could go through that he has done. Even how he embraced his culture. I watched him grieve his father and still continue to chase his dreams. I watched him put things that's important to him to the side to help other people and other children. I watched him look at his mentors and appreciate what they did, put that into his life, and then go out and do it his way, the Alfredo Chavez way. And let me not forget Alfredo Jr. because how highly he appreciate his father, his family, his mother, his brothers. But his father is really a staple to his life. Is his motivation in life and how hard he goes. This is somebody that normally I see people when people pass away in their life. It's like that good couple years. Every year for him, every month he's speaking about his father. So I know deep down inside, his father really meant something. He's a big part of his life, and I just enjoy seeing him trying to make not only his family that's here, and his mother that's here, and his brothers that's here, but his father here is that as he's still here as well. How much he try to make him proud. But needless to say, this is Alfredo Jr. Also, let me not forget, he is the founder of Running to the Future, his nonprofit that I know we'll be getting into today. Alfredo Jr.
What's good?
I don't know how I do on the intro.
Hey, you did amazing. There's no rating of like what you did. I really appreciate you just talking about how we met, how we are actually family, and getting into my journey into track, your journey into track and field. Shout out to he's not my blood brother. Shout out to my little brother now. He just got married. I look up to this young man a lot. He is very inspirational, doing amazing things, and I deeply appreciate the kind words that you shared about my father, my family, me honoring my name, my passion for youth. You know, we started to do a lot of service work together when I first moved to LA, came back during the summer. The name can't be called Lending Hands because that is a name of a actual nonprofit organization, but that's what we wanted to call it because we were a bunch of do-gooders. We did Thanksgiving food giveaways, we did street sweeps, and I wanted to bring that back to Rochester because I used to work for a nonprofit called Big Citizens Hub, which is now called Changes. And so shout out to my little cousin Magic, shout out to my little brother now because they were the first ones who were like, I'm doing the street sweep. I was by myself the first time. And then you see me post about it. You was like, cuz I'm on it. I'm at the next one. And next thing you know, I saw a picture that I need to send you all that it was me now and Magic. And we're literally cleaning up trash on Chilai. And so I really appreciate you just being a part of the journey, wanting to always help out, always giving me honest feedback when I'm messing up. All right, being straight up with me. And I just love the support because being out here, it gets lonely. And you always give me a call, checking up on me. And anytime we talk on the phone, you know you always doing the Nellyville. I ain't about to curse on the screen, but if you know the Nellyville song, it goes hot. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction. I'm glad and grateful to be here.
Yeah, man. It's been a long time. I've been trying to get you on the show. I see the jersey you have on. Can you tell me a little bit about your jersey and what that mean to you, and how did that affect you growing up?
Okay. I try my best not to be too long with it and to keep the attention of everyone. So let's try this right now. So this jersey I have going on, this jersey is from, I believe, Mark the label. So shout out to his brand. They created a lot of World Cup jerseys when the World Cup happened this summer. And this DJ in New York City had it on. And I was like, yo, that jersey's fire. I need one of those. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up purchasing the jersey. It got here after the World Cup games were over. But if you see here, this is the Panama flag. It's a Panamanian jersey. I am Panamanian, which is Spanish for being Panamanian. And so my father was born and raised in Colón, Panama. I am Afro-Latino, Afro-Panamanian, you know, whatever you identify as. And so how did that affect me growing up? Well, my dad made sure we knew that we're Panamanian. but we also knew that we were black as well, right? And so I remember my older cousins would refer to us as their light skinned Spanish cousins because we were so yellow. It was like my brother Carlos, me and him had the same mom and dad. And so I remember hearing that comment, and we would have belts, we had shirts. My dad had the Panamanian flag. And so I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, I'm this, right? My dad speaks fluent Spanish. He's from another country, but I don't know too much, like, insight on that, right? And so as we grew up knowing that, it was funny because, obviously some of my homies would make jokes like, bro, your last name Chavez, dude, you Mexican. And I'm like, no, I'm Panamanian, bro. And so fast forward through my journey of like middle school and high school, my identity crisis didn't hit me until I moved to Los Angeles, California. So if you don't know, West Coast and East Coast are obviously different, but culturally wise, they are as well too. So over here on the West Coast, which used to be Little Mexico, but the U.S. ended up going to war, taking the territory, and pushing a lot of Mexicans out, okay, or Mexicanos, right? And so what ends up happening is that this culture is so heavily like predominant here. When you come here to California, right, you see a lot of Mexicans, Salvadorians, Guatemalans, right? But it's different from the East Coast. Growing up in the East Coast, you Panamanian, everybody know. Oh, man, you talking about, oh, bro, my cousin Panamanian, man. Now you good, you good. And over here, they're like, wait, where's Panama from? What language do they speak? You sure you Latino? Nah, you can't be. And so I started to have this identity crisis. I would get into lifts and Ubers. They would question me because my full name is Alfredo Jaime Crossman Chavez Jr. Right? So I got the starter pack of like a Hispanic Latino name. But the visual is like, wait, he can't be that because you look black, bro. You not, right? But what I had to go away from is the frustration part. Because after a certain amount of time, I'm like, yo, stop questioning me, stop asking me this, stop asking me that. I'll go into AutoZone. They talking about like, what's your membership number? And I need to see an ID. I'm like, bro, who IDs in AutoZone? Like literally who IDs in here, but because my last name is Chavez and my first name is Alfredo, I'll never forget my best friend Rico. I said I used to tell them stories about this, but they didn't believe me. I'm not gonna say they didn't believe me, but it's just hard to it's hard to understand something that you're not going through. And so we was in AutoZone, I got a part from my car, him and one of our friends, Miss Beaver, was right there, and the guy was like, yeah, can I get an ID? And everybody was like, what the like, bro, we're in AutoZone. But I told him like that's the identity like crisis that I go through, right? Not believing that I'm Panamanian, not believing that I'm Afro Latino, not believing that I'm actual Latino because of what I look like. And that doesn't shut off my blackness. I know that I'm black. Like that's evident. I'm proud to be that, but my goal is to open a space for people who look like me, who are mixed, who have parents who are two different, and to be able to be two different things instead of it saying you have to choose. And my parents never made us choose. My mom never made us choose, born and raised in Rochester, New York. Her family's from Pensacola, Florida. And my father didn't either. And so that's pretty much how it would affect me when I was young and how it would affect me as I got older, moving over here to Los Angeles, California. But shout out to Panama.
How did it affect you when people went and identify you as Panamanian black? Like, yeah, I get it that you had to, but like those friends and that family, like, because me growing up, I understand, but I'm like, this nigga name is Alfredo. Why is your name Alfredo? And you're, but I would look at you as a black man. I mean, I'm 10, 11. I don't really have I didn't know the knowledge of, when I think of Spanish people, especially in Rochester, it's a lot of lighter skinned people.
Puerto Rican.
Or they had this, they had this Puerto Rican feature. That slick hair, you had nappy afro, So how did it feel when you see your friends, the people that you trust the most, question your identity?
It was awkward because what would happen at times is that it was like, nah, cool. Like you Panamanian, you Afro Latino, and then it would be those little jokes of like, hey, but you don't speak Spanish though. And I remember moments where I I would get questioned more because I didn't speak Spanish, and that was like like, hey, you passed because you spoke Spanish. Now you are Latino versus like this other kid or this other adult who doesn't look like me, right? But because they look the average Latino culture, oh, it don't matter. They call it no sabo, which is like, the kid who doesn't speak Spanish and didn't grow up. So it's funny because there was a moment at my previous job, not the one I work at now, I was an athletic director, founding PE teacher. And I'll never forget where we were doing the graduation speeches. And a teacher came up and they were like, hey, you could practice your speech here, da da da. And I'll never forget when the staff members was like, she was like, yeah, I'm gonna need a translator. She was like, all right, cool. When I went to go stand up and say I was gonna give my speech, they said, Coach Chavez, you can't speak Spanish? Oh man, see, I knew you wasn't Latino. In that moment, I'll never forget how angry I felt because I'm like, she can't speak Spanish, right? She's Mexican American, but because she looks the part, that's okay for her. And so I feel like when it comes to being Afro-Latino, Afro-Latina, Afro-Panamanian, right, I have to overly prove that I am actually Afro-Latino or Panamanian. I have to overly prove, right? I have to make sure I know the food, the culture, the music, the history. And so it's very frustrating because not everybody grew up in the home country. Some of us are first generation. And then even though you're first generation, some of our parents, their voyage or journey to the US, it wasn't as bright as everybody else's, right? They didn't just kind of walk over here and like they had their mother and father still, My dad grew up in a household pretty much that he wasn't really loved in like that. You know what I'm saying? His pops had him in Panama and dipped out. No disrespect to my grandfather, that's his story and his journey, rest in peace to him. But my father was born in Colón, Panama with his mother by himself. You know what I'm saying? And so when he came over to the States when he was 10, my grandfather didn't go get him. It was his Theo. My great Theo Carlos. The reason why my brother name is Carlos is because my great Theo went and got him from Panama and brought him over. And so that's very different from like your parents bringing you over. And so the culture within my father wasn't really raised a lot or taught because the mother's supposed to teach you that. You know what I'm saying? So pretty much like when we grew up, it was like, hey, you Panamanian? All right, just remember that and just know that. Cool. And so now being out here is where I had to learn a lot of that culture.
Now, how was it, because you actually been there a couple times. How was it when you went back to your roots of Panamanian? For me, my dad is from Orlando, Florida. So every time I go there, he got a bunch of sisters and brothers and nieces. Every time I go there, it's like I learn more about why I am the way I am. From stories of my grandmother, to see how, like, the area he was raised in. I think that is very important to show where you came from. At first, I thought it was just like people just showing where you came from and this is what this happened, but it's actually showing you what may be a part of your life growing up or why you the way you are. So how was it going to your father's country and city he was born in and meeting family from that side? How was that experience for you and what did that do for you?
So I went to Panama for the first time July 2021. It was like right after COVID gave us a little break. And I remember, so to go back in the past a little bit more, shout out to my best friend Rob. I met him when I first moved here to LA. City of LA, we did a nonprofit through AmeriCorps working with kids. And he moved to Kansas City. And pretty much he called me in 2018 and said, hey, bro, listen, there's a soccer game, Panama versus U.S. You need to come here and see it. And he knew how proud I was to be Panamanian. And at the time, money was tight. I was in a previous relationship. And pretty much so my significant other was like, I don't really care. But, like, we could go. And I was like, are we going to go? Bought our tickets, boom. Fast forward, the main point of the story is when I went there, I seen so many Panamanians. And I was like, in just all like, oh my gosh, I never been around this many before. Because on the West Coast, at that very moment, I thought I was the only Panamanian there. So next thing you know, I'm at the soccer game. Woo, woo, woo. We cheering them all. Unfortunately, Panama loses to the U.S. and I see a bunch of Panamanians. And my girlfriend at the time was like, "Hey, let's follow them." And I was like, "Word, let's do it." And we followed them around. I remember my best friend Rob was like, "Hey, bro, like me and my girl are tired. We're gonna go back home." But he looked at my girl at the time was like, "Hey, like, can you make sure you take care of him?" I was on the news. I met one of my best friends from Panama. His name is Noel. And he said, "Listen, bro, if you ever want to come out there, you need to visit. Call my phone, and I will show you around. You are Panamanian. Don't let nobody tell you any different. You need to come visit where your father's from." Fast forward 3 years, I'm sporadically sitting in my living room, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm gonna go to Panama." And I booked the ticket. I called my boy Noel. He's like, "Yo, when are you coming?" And I was like, "When you like coming to like Panama?" And I was like, "Yo, bro, I'm gonna be there this weekend." He was like, "Bro, okay, okay, okay." He was like, "All right, let's get it all situated." And when I first went to Panama, I swear, obviously I don't speak the language. I speak little bits of Spanish, que sopa, como se llama, like, asking your name, how are you feeling, this is what I want. And so, man, being there, it was crazy because so it was COVID. They still have regulations and rules. You couldn't really go out past, I want to say 10 o'clock. You couldn't visit the neighboring islands where a lot of the indigenous people were because uh, COVID. They didn't want that to spread. And I'll just tell you this specifically. When I went to Cologne, I was so happy. And they paint a really bad picture of Cologne. So to give a little bit of history, Cologne used to be very rich, very wealthy, and pretty much I don't know what kind of resulted into it developing into what it is now, but a lot of people tell you not to go to Colón, Panama. That's where you'll see a lot of Afro-Panamanians and Panamanians, especially from New York City. And so I went there. This taxi driver drove me around. He wouldn't let me get out because he said it was unsafe. And I did get out where the water was. And when I tell you, I just felt a sense of like happiness because I was able to go back to where my father was born and raised. It was amazing. And to give just a quick context, my dad came over, illegally to the States. And so he never went back because he wasn't a American citizen. And so he did try to get his citizenship right when I moved to LA in 2015. But unfortunately, he was denied. There's a test you have to take. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't pass the test. So unfortunately, he was denied. But going there felt amazing. I went by myself for 10 days and I just explored everywhere.
So, I got you, Magic. Go ahead and snack. Yes. So I'm hearing a lot about like culture, identity, and really like this. Your identity was connected to your ability to be connected to your ancestors in the Panamanian realm, right? And you also made a comment around it's the mom's job to pass down culture, which is super interesting because I say it all the time, especially with our biracial mulatto people, where we can typically, I always said we can typically tell if you have a white mom because you most often struggle with your identity because white moms are not connected to black culture at all. And the dad typically doesn't pass down or don't pass down things that moms naturally pass down just because of like how they nurture and the amount of time you with your mom and all those different things, right? So like all the way down to language, right? I know a lot of people who the dad is the I'm gonna say ethnic portion of the parents, and they are no sabo babies because the dad didn't take the time to teach Spanish or the language that they speak. But it makes me think because like even with black people we do a lot of being connected to our history, especially in this country, being connected to our history so that we don't become victims of what our ancestors became victim to. And that brings up for me a question around when did you finally decide to sit in both your identities as confidently as you do now, even knowing that like you don't speak your language and you're judged by that oftentimes. And then what influenced that decision? So like what event, if it was an event, what can an event made you decide like, you know what, I'm gonna sit comfortably in my Panamanian side or identity just as much as I sit in my Black identity. And I'm gonna use that as, in a sense, the springboard to do everything else.
First of all, that's a really good question, and a really good just what led up to it. So I definitely appreciate that. So I was as a kid, there was just like I know that I'm Panamanian, I'm Black, right? So I can't say that's the moment of like, yeah, I sat in both of them because like I'm a kid, you know, you don't really know, you know as much as exposed to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that it's funny because we mixed people talk about this a lot, right? Like you code switch. Yeah, I'm gonna be more Black over here, you know. I'm gonna be Black over here, but I'm gonna really talk a lot about like my Latino side just to see how I can be in over here, right? And that was at moments growing up. And I will say confidently, 2018 is when I sat in both.
Mm.
I was like, this is me. And the reason why is a huge shout out to one of my mentors. Try to get this cough out. Shout out to one of my mentors, Mr. Chevedia. His full name is Mario Chevedia. Salvadorian. His story is amazing. I'm not going to tell it because that's his story. But we worked at this founding school that he built. It was called Cape Corazon Academy Upper School. And we had a circle with all the founder staff members. He told us to talk about ourselves. And he said, if you're not comfortable with your own self and your own identity, how can you teach children? And I remember one of my closest friends' name is Mr. Shin. He's a Korean American, first generation, just like me. And me and him both sat there talking about how like we never been back to where our parents are from. He knew more of the Korean language than I knew more of the Spanish language, but it was a language barrier as well. And it was something that we both just kind of like sat with. And I remember sitting there just kind of learning about like these other people and their identity crisis and them kind of like acknowledging like, yo, bro, you're Afro-Latino, don't let anybody tell you different. And I'm just kind of sitting there like telling them my story of like the Lyfts and the Ubers and the people telling me this. And there's like, nah, forget all that. And, you know, that was so powerful to me because what ended up happening throughout the school year is that I started to tell the story to my 4th and 5th graders. And when you tell kids things, kids listen. And when kids listen, they want to take action. That's why a lot of times you see these marches and these groups and these petitions and a lot of changes happen because youth have the energy. They're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling my kids, like, I got into a Lyft and Uber and they denied my identity. My student was like, Coach Chavez, let's go find this Uber right now. I'm like, the Uber gone, baby.
That's a
somewhere
fact.
else, you know. But it was in that moment where I sat with both of my identities, and I never let that moment slip away. And that's why I am who I am now, because there were kids in that school who looked like me and identified like me, but didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you grow up in a household, and if the mom is white, you're not gonna know Black culture if you're white and Black because the mom is teaching you.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening to these kids who are Afro-Latino and Latina? The mom is Latina. They're raising them to only be Latina.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my students who hair look just like mine, it's like very coarse, very thick, right? Or complexion look like mine, or certain facial features, they were just like, nah, I'm Latina. I'm like, I don't know how to navigate this conversation yet, but okay, give me a second. I'm telling my principal, and I'm like, yo, Mr. Chevedia, like, I think this student might be. He's like, no, you're right. I don't know how to talk about it. We got to figure it out. And towards the end, to this day, like I'm not gonna name on the podcast, right? Because they my students, but I got a student who, when she was in fourth or fifth grade, didn't identify as being black at all. Period.
Mm-hmm.
She is Honduran, and now she's part of the Black Student Union
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at her high school.
And they black.
You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I got a student now who just graduated from the middle school I work at. Man, I remember coming to the school, sixth grade. I'm like, oh, you Afro-Latina. You like me. Don't ever call me that shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, hold up. Sorry. Hold up. Baby girl, why you cursing at me like that, though? First of all, let's get to that point. And I won't forget, hand on everything, April 2026. This is a couple months before she just promoted out of our school. I said, you remember you ain't like being called out for Latina? She looked at me and was like, Mr. Chill. I'm like, nah. And I said, I see you now. You in Black Student Union.
Mm-hmm.
You identify as being both. And she was like, hey, coach, I'm not going to lie. I think it's like super dope being both. And I said, yo, I'm so glad you identify with that now. And she was like, yeah, I just wasn't trying to hear you out. I feel like you was trying to come in too hot, like trying to tell me what I was. And like, I ain't knowing no Afro about what this was. And I said, you know what? I respect that. But I said my main thing was I didn't want you to think you had to choose. And I also wanted you to acknowledge your blackness. Because part of being in the Latino culture, and that's me being in that culture as well, is that there's a lot of anti-blackness in it. Mm-hmm. You know? Anything that is related to or a part of black culture is always shunned out. And so, yeah, man, that's when I was able to sit with both. Till this day, everybody knows I talk about it. I always promote it. I always just try to speak on it because it's really important that families and the youth know, because the identity crisis is real and you have it. And then you're caught up thinking like, oh, I don't know what I am. And you know what? I don't speak Spanish. I don't even know what that side is. Learn about it.
Mm-hmm.
Learn about it. I dance for Código right now, which is, it comes from Spaniard, right? But that is part of Panamanian culture that I've embraced and I perform. And one of the cultural dances is Congo. And I do Congo dancing as well. And that comes from Cologne. And where does Congo come from? That's African descent. That is literally from there. And that comes from the African slaves being dropped off in Panama, mm-hmm. right? And they would perform Congo dances in certain outfits that try to represent what Código people wear. Not Código people, but like what they wear in Código dancing. But because the Congo performers and the Afro-Panamanians and the Africans couldn't wear what the Spaniards were wearing, right? They wore these outfits in Congo to mock them, right? It would be different colors. It would be ripped. It would be destroyed because that's all they could afford. They would tie white baby dolls like on their waist, and you're performing these beautiful, exotic rhythm dances. And you hear the drums being played. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, bro. So I know I went on a rant, but I wanted to just talk about that because that's a big part of my who I am of performing and dancing to represent my culture.
Nah, that's dope. You already answered one of the questions I wrote down earlier when Magic was going, and that was around how does like your identity and how you identify affect how you work with youth. I work with youth too. So I know I've been working with youth a long time, since I was a youth. So I know how our youth come in and they are genuinely just, they're confused. They don't know what they want to do, and they typically align with what they feel is cool at the time. That's going to get them the most friends, a seat at that table that we all know is with all the cool kids and things of that nature. But I think I want to underscore and highlight your what you were just saying so people don't miss it around, like, you're promoting the dimensions of identity and understanding that, or you're calling it out that you can be both without having to choose. So it's not choosing, it's acknowledging that you are in fact both. It's just you have to find your way into understanding why you are both. Rice I think we did a internet taught me on here. That's one of our segments, and I think I said this. Rice is not a native dish to Mexico. Only reason why rice is a native dish to, or seen as a native dish to Mexico now, is because it was brought over on slave ships. So all of the rice that the rice dishes that we know is because of the amount of rice that was coming in on slave ships, and then all of the culture that was also coming over on slave ships. And that's when we started to see a lot of rice base or foundational rice dishes coming out of Mexico and South America, Central America, so on and so forth. So that's dope. That's dope. And it ain't easy to have those conversations with youth or even get those responses to youth, but it's always a full circle moment when it's time for them to leave. And I do the same thing. You remember when you told me this? What happened to that? What happened to that energy? I had one of my girls, and it's always the girls. The boys is a little different in how you see the shifts, but the girls, they come in hot. You know, they will reject everything and anything that you're doing. They won't even speak to you. Yeah. I had one girl didn't speak to me for the majority of the first half of the year, but I made sure that she knew I was here and I wasn't going nowhere, and I'm gonna keep on checking on her. And by the end of the year, when she was, I like that, promoting up into another building, she couldn't not say anything to me, and it solidified for me when I was walking through the Hudson Walmart, and she like yelled from like 10 aisles down, "Mr. Anglin." And I looked and I'm like, oh yeah, remember when you wouldn't talk to me, you just give me a real stink face and then go on about your business. So yeah, that's dope. And I don't think that we can uplift enough that identity is a process. And a lot of people are in an identity crisis because of all of the information, misinformation that goes on every day, especially now in social media, where you have Latinos, Latinx, however you want to identify them, clearly denying that they are of any alliance to blackness, and they align themselves with white people. Even at work, we were doing an Undoing Racism workshop one time, and I was literally sitting next to a Latino man, I think Mexican, maybe, I don't know, and he aligned so much with whiteness that there was two sections of the workshop. One section was when all the black people talked, and the white people listened, and then vice versa. The white people would talk and all the black people would listen. And when it was time for white people to talk, he was fighting himself because he wanted to talk, because he's so confidently identified as a white man.
Gotcha.
And I had to be like, yo, bro, you gotta stop this. Like, you becoming the ops, and people know that you the ops, but you don't see it. It got so deep to where he was like, when I put my name tag on, I'm white. And I'm like, that's how you got to a VP position. But yeah, identity is such a huge conversation, and it's not really an endpoint to your identity because it's always evolving.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I think about what it makes me think about is like assimilation.
Mm-hmm.
So what was taught to a lot of Hispanics and Latinos, because you have white passing Hispanic and Latinos. Huge shout out to Dr. Mota. She's one of my former coworkers. I'll never forget when she said, yo, I got to acknowledge that I'm a white passing Latina. And that's important for Hispanics and Latinos to acknowledge, because like, for the audience out there who watch this, what does it mean to be white passing, right? It means that you have features that if someone's seen you, right, just like if someone sees me, the first thing they're going to think is like, I am Black American, right? Which I am. But being a white passing Latino or Latina means that like you have white features, meaning that if you get pulled over by the cops, if you're in a store, you like, you know, get a little frustrated because like maybe they didn't treat you right, no one's going to overreact because you have white features, right? Mm-hmm. And so assimilation is like super big, because what was taught to like a lot of these Hispanic Latinos or way back in days, like the closer you get to being white, right, people are going to treat you better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a big reason why a lot of people are like anti-blackness, right? Like the farther I'm away from this, I can be treated better. And so it just made me think about how that gentleman who was in that professional development, which was like, he probably could have been taught like, don't speak Spanish, don't talk about any of like that cultural food, any traditions, right? He's probably like third, fourth generation. He probably has like no type of like Spanish or Latino name. So he's like, I'm the furthest away from this. So I identify with that. And I just think about how like we have a lot of these people who do that because no one told them to be proud of their culture. Don't get it twisted. I hate that he became into this person of like, I'm white, but I'm really big on like stories and backgrounds and like having someone telling you like to be proud of like how you look, what you are, what you identify as. It's like, and I'm not gonna be one along with it right here. It's really like how growing up being dark skinned wasn't cool.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about this all the time. You used to get made fun of for being dark skinned. They would say so many hurtful things.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you have someone in your corner telling you like, hey bro, you good. Hey, telling the girls like, hey, you beautiful. Now you look on social media, being dark skinned is cool. It's like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
you seen that? You seen that girl who mad dark skin? Or hey, dang, bro, mad dark skin. And it's like, unless you have someone in your corner back in the day, because colorism was a big thing, then you hated your skin color. You hated your complexion.
That's a fact.
That's why I feel like being mentorship, being involved with the youth is important because once you are solidified in your foundation, now, hey, come here real quick, bro. Hey, let me mentor you real quick, man. It's cool to do that. It's cool to be this. Because if that guy had that back in the day, he wouldn't have been like itching to identify as being white versus like, man, I can't wait to tell people about being Latino or like what it mean to be Mexican or whatever ethnicity he was. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It should be hypeness around talking about your culture versus being sad or being, nervous about it and shy. But it's so much going on in the world right now. You don't even want to say nothing. ICE agents and these raids, and you don't want to be, I'm nervous about saying this. And so, I wish the best for that guy, dude. I really do.
Yeah, and the interesting part is he does have a Latino name, and when he introduces himself, he introduces it in his accent. So like he speaks Spanish and all that stuff. So when he started to struggle with his on day one, I thought that he just identified as black, person of color, whatever, part of the community.
Yeah.
But once we got to day two and I seen him struggling, I was like, but you didn't give energy that you believe that you white. Like you don't carry yourself as you white. You don't introduce yourself as if you white. You actually introduce yourself as if you were part of the community. And that's where, for me, it was like, bro, what are you doing? I need you, if this name tag got this much power over you, don't put it on again. Because you shouldn't be teetering at this point in time. You shouldn't be teetering that far. But he connected it to like on the census, there's no category that he fits in, so he always just put white. And that's just his, like, that's how he identified. Hopefully, we had a good conversation during and then after, but hopefully he figured it out. But I think, again, to underscore everything that you've been talking about, identity is something that we as people struggle with throughout life, and sometimes that struggle gets us, or that struggle is so consistent that we don't know how to really break away from it, and we don't get to acknowledge how it is actually hurting the people around us, but starting with ourselves. So that's dope. It's a good conversation. Magic, what you got?
I didn't want. I'm glad that we got to this part here, right? But I didn't want this whole thing to be focused on your identity and nothing like that. But I definitely wanted to get that out because I know how strong and passionate you are about that. What else I wanted to talk about is that a few I guess conversations. You said, "Coach, hey, coach, don't blah blah blah."
Mm-hmm.
So, how did you become coach? What does coach means to you? what does teaching mean to you? Because obviously you say you was in school as well and you had a student. What does teaching, what does coaching, what does kids mean to you? And can you name a lot of the things you've done for the schools that you have been to? Because you also named, or not named, but you also said a school I used to work for. So can you mention some of your accolades with some of the schools, being a founder for one of them, um, and, and that nature, about the kids and the coaching and the track, and this is all leading up to your nonprofit. Can you expound on that?
You know I hate bringing up accolades, so I hate that you asked me that question. I'm gonna just name that right now. He know how I am. He the same way. I think that's one of our many family traits that we share. You do the work not for any applause, any claps,
Just do it.
here's this. You just do it. So, coach, what does the word coach to me? It means a lot. So I can't mention that without mentioning Walter Larkins, R.B. Sheffield. Those are like two just man. They still play a huge role in my life to this day. I call Coach Sheffield Unc. I call Walter Larkins Gramps, and they were our head coaches at Edison Tech for track and field. Huge shout out because Aubrey Sheffield and Walter Larkins are both family friends because they went to school with my brother, but my brother ran with Walter Larkins. They were actually best friends. So growing up, Walt seen me as a kid because I would go to my brother Terrence's track meets. My brother Terrence Parker, shout out to him. He was the reason why I ran track and field. He was a nationally ranked 110 and 400-meter hurdler for Edison Tech back in the mid to late 90s. He got a full ride scholarship to University of Buffalo. And so, let me pivot so I can talk about my brother all day. But Walt and Chef did the things that, till this day, there's certain, like, till this day, how I coach is, I get it from them. They pretty much went above and beyond. Did you eat? How are you feeling? I got two stories I can share with you right now. Actually, three. The first one, a young lady got me something for Valentine's Day at a track and field meet. Gave it to me in front of everybody. You know, that moment you're young, you think, oh man, I'm the man. Yeah, you know, and I wasn't feeling that way. I was more so shy. I'll never forget Walt walked up to me, smacked me in the back of my head, and said, don't you ever let a young lady buy you something without having something for her. I looked at Walt, I was like, I didn't know she was gonna give me something. Went into his pocket, took out $20 to $30. You got 24 hours to go get her a gift and deliver it to her and call me when you do it. Mind you, I grew up with my father in my life and my mother. Both of my parents were together for over 20 plus years, right? That doesn't mean you can't have mentors. In that moment, my coach was not only being a coach, not only being a mentor, but being a father figure, right? That was a big moment for me. I never forget. I delivered the gift. I called him. I said, what? I gave the gift. Good. And don't ever let it happen again. And he took money out of his pocket and gave that to me. There was no, he never brought it up again. He never told anybody like, yo, like I did this. No, nothing. Second moment. I never forget. We had no college recruits coming to our school. Our counselors never brought colleges. I'd never been on a college tour before. A hand on a Bible. And I hear all my friends, even now, even in college, telling me, "Oh, yo, how'd you end up coming to this school? How'd you go?" I went to North Carolina A&T State University, HBCU. How'd you find about A&T? I was like, I was doing my own research and I wanted to run track, and I knew I couldn't go to a big Division I school, so I went to A&T. You didn't go on the HBCU tour? Nah. You never went on a college tour? No. I just went to RAT because it was a field trip that Edison took the kids to. That was it. And so he brought college coaches. They came to our classes, pulled us out of class. I'm like, yeah, what's going on? Hey, Walt brought college coaches. For real? We were it was a room near the lunch room. We sat in there, and they came and talked to us. One was from Lake Erie. One was from Cortland. I never forget that. I never had a conversation with him. I was never the fastest on the track and field team. Jonathan Santana, Joseph Hillaway, Quinn Harley, Brett Harrington, Mark Kennedy, Marcus Smith. I can go through names that were faster and more elite than me. I would just tell this that I was one of the hardest workers, if not the hardest worker on the team. So when those coaches were talking to me, I'm like, what? And I'm just looking like, why are you doing this? They don't pay you enough. And then you're spending your money. The third one is this. When we went to North Carolina, A&T for outdoor nationals, they rented a Sprinter van and drove us 12 hours of nationals to run. Out of their dime, their pocket. They spent their coaching check to take us to nationals to run.
Mm-hmm.
Those are three things I'll never forget in my life. And so I remember I got my first coaching job. It was in North Carolina. It was at Lincoln University. I remember every track meet, I had my kids dress up. Coach, why we got to dress up? Why we dressing for success? I don't got no dress clothes. I'll give you some.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to tie a tie. Let me show you how to tie a tie. Oh, hey, are those dress shoes? But that's all I had. Okay, I'm going to give you a week to get something else. I'll help you out. I got some money for you. Till this day, those kids in North Carolina at Lincoln Academy, Go Hornets, middle school, 2015. I still go to North Carolina to have dinner with them. They graduated college. Some of them are coaching now. One of them just asked me for a letter of recommendation. Right? They're still calling me like it's like that's what my coach, Walter Lactador, they made us into a family. I was the best man at Quinn Harley's wedding. I used to go to Brett Harrington's house all the time. When my father passed away, rest in peace to him, Brett Harrington called my phone and said, yo, breaking down on the phone, I can't believe your father's gone because your father, I would see him all the time, bro. He meant the world to me, dude. Your father was a father to me because my father passed away. You know what I'm saying? And so he created a family, and I was like, I got to do this too. So that's what coaching means to me, right? I taught PE for 8 years. I taught at a school called Largemont Charter. I taught at a school called Cape Cod Academy, right? I was a substitute teacher at Lincoln Academy as well. And so those things played a pivotal role in my life, being a teacher. I never knew I would become a teacher, but, you know, as Magic brought up, it's like I was able to resonate with these kids, to create a safe environment, to help build their confidence up, because part of kids going to school is not always just teaching the academic portion. You're instilling these skills, this confidence, this identity, you're building this child up to be this adult who can succeed at life, not just in the books. They always say this all the time. There's street smart and book smart. You need both. You need both. Okay? And so one of Largemont Charter was that was my first teaching job. That meant a lot. But one of the biggest jobs I ever had was working at KIP. And I'm only going to say these accolades once, and I'm not going to repeat them. So I was able to be, and I'll say this, part of getting these accolades was because my mentors put me in a position to succeed and supported me. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of things happened working at KIP. I was Teacher of the Year at KIP Codestone Academy. Out of hundreds of teachers, you become nominated, and you do an interview, and they choose you. I was Teacher of the Year for LA Kings hockey team, so they choose 3 teachers of the year out of North America, and I was one of the ones chosen. That gave us a $10,000 grant for STEM. I was nominated as a CFP Champion Educator of the Year. That was a $20,000 grant given to my school from the National College Football Playoffs when they played here. I was a Equity Champion through the Charter School Association as well. Coach of the Year from the Los Angeles Lakers. They chose me to represent. So every NBA team chooses an actual coach throughout their whole city, and they go to be nominated as the overall Coach of the Year. But I was chosen as the Los Angeles Lakers Coach of the Year as well. They did a Backstage Lakers segment on me. They did a clinic at my school. Robert Horry, if you don't know, he's a 7-time NBA champion. He played for the Lakers. He played for the Spurs. He played for the Rockets. And he came to my school to present me the Tissot watch. So it's a gift of time. And pretty much my students were And on the surprise, they did a fake clinic, and Robert Ory just walked into my parking lot and presented it to me. They gave me game tickets. I was able to go on the courtside floor. My face was on like the jumbotron. My mom was able to be present with me during that day, and it was an amazing moment. Um, I'm trying to see if I'm forgetting. I was a. This is it's right here. I can't really pull it out, but I was a recipient of the Nike Community Impact Grant. So I applied to get funding for our school. So from 2022 to 2023, I was able to receive a $10,000 grant from Nike East Los. Shout out to Brianna. Shout out to Cordell. They were the main ones who were helping me out build our athletic program. And from that, I was able to add 12 sports to our school for middle schools. So boys and girls flag football, cross country, students run LA. I train kids to complete the LA Marathon, which is 26.2 miles. Track and field, girls and boys basketball, boys and girls soccer, esports, and co-ed volleyball as well too. Um, Founding an athletic program was like amazing. Shout out to Mr. Chevadia, who was like my support system. When COVID hit, I was doing live streams all throughout COVID to promote dance, Tabata Thursdays, cooking with the kids, and also just getting into like interviews about like culture and identity with staff members as well. But coaching means a lot to me. It's my passion, and it's something that I would do for free. And I've been coaching for over 10 years now. I was a girls basketball coach, boys basketball, cross country, SRLA, track and field as well. And that was huge for me. And I think one of my last accolades, which was pretty dope, I was Teacher of the Year through EverFi, which is a network that provides modules on STEM, which involves sports such as the Dodgers, the Kings, well, baseball and hockey. And pretty much I was featured on an NFL network. I was given Super Bowl tickets by Roger Goodell due to the work I was doing in schools, and I was able to represent my school and EverFi and the NFL at the Super Bowl where the Rams defeated the Bengals as well too. I don't know if I
Hey,
answered every question. It's a lot. It's certain things I don't think I answered, but yeah.
that's all right. Because now we're gonna get into this nonprofit. We you loving the kids. You
Yep.
did everything. You did a lot. You brought a lot of money to schools. You founded different
Hmm.
school programs and things of that nature. That's all cool. That's great. But now let's get into you and what you do outside of the school, which is the
Okay.
nonprofit. Can you tell us more about the nonprofit running toward the future? And what did it mean to you? And what is the nonprofit about?
So let's first of all, I think this is a full circle moment. Let's get into like why this nonprofit started. So first of all, before I show the polo, running towards the future. So when when um when there's a lot of deaths happening um due to police brutality, right? Me and Magic, right, being very active just in wanting to do a lot of service work, social justice. We said, how can we support right now? Right? It was COVID, and I remember I was back in Rochester for a couple of months, and I remember going to his. I never yet went to his house. We're sitting in where the computer room is by the fish tank, and we're like, what are we gonna do? And we're like, okay, let's raise this money. Let's do this race. But then, I hate to say this, but we were questioning like what BLM was doing with their money, right? We were trying to figure out like what is going on because where does this money go if we raise it? How do we know it's going to be used for the right things? And we're not, I don't want to get into that discussion about what was going on, but there's been a lot of conversation around how things are being dished out. And so one thing about Magic, he questions everything. I love it. Like my cousin questions everything from me to the process of something and how is it going to happen. And so we're
Hmm.
sitting there, we're like, what is going to be the name? And we couldn't come up with a name. So I left. I go to my house. I'm sitting in my room. Well, it's not really my room anymore, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, what could be the name? What could be the name? What are we gonna do? And shout out to Larry. I called my one of my best friends up, Larry Britton, and I said, dude, I'm trying to figure out a name for this like organization we want to build up. He's like, dude, just do something with running. And I was like, man, I don't want to do it with running because I don't want people to just associate me with running. I don't want it to just be like, you're just this guy who runs. And that's not a bad thing, but at the moment, I felt like that would put me in a box. And he was like, running, and he goes like, running towards the future. And I was like, hold up, stop. What you say? Running towards the future. Do you like it? And I was like, I think that sounded all right. He was like, all right, go ahead, use it. Boom. And I remember calling, I don't know how the conversation went with me and Magic, but I remember calling and telling him, and he was like, that's cool, I like it. Because I know if he didn't like it, he would have told me. He would have been straight up with me in the moment. He was like, nah, I'm not messing with it, nah. And we didn't end up getting things done with it because what needed to happen was we wanted to host a race, right? Our aspirations were here, but the planning behind it at the moment, we didn't know in order to host a race in the city, you had to get the city to shut down the streets. That took 6 months to a year in advance. And in order to orchestrate a race through the website, they needed you to be an official nonprofit. And since I was so passionate about working with kids at the moment, I put that to the side once COVID ended. I never forget, I was like, hey, cuz we gonna get on running towards the future, give it some time. And 3 years went by and nothing happened. You know? And when I left KIT due to them not wanting to, I wanted to become a regional athletic director because I wanted to have my impact on a global scale. I wanted to provide funding for numerous KIP schools, not just my school. I didn't want my school to just be thriving. And all these PE teachers and other directors like, yo, bro, you partner with Nike, you get Dodger tickets, Laker tickets. I don't understand what's going on. And I was like, yo, like, I want to do this for you, but like, I don't have the like time or like the space, you know, and you know, things didn't work out. So when I went to this new school, I remember talking to Magic on the phone. I was like, yo, I gotta dive into my nonprofit. What did I end up doing? I offered free training. So I'm gonna show you how it started and what it is now. I offered free training at an open track to anybody who showed up. I was posting on the social media. People were showing up, and it's popping. People were like, "Yo, Coach Chavez, like, I want to get training." They showing up. I want to get faster. I just want to get in shape. And I'm like, bet. So then I'm like, yo, I need to get a logo. Like, what's going on here? And I remember, like, I had a logo that, shout out to Alex. He's one of my Jersey guys. He did all of my apparel for Tip and for Alliance. He made me a logo, but it had a picture of me running. And I was like, cool. And then I was like, nah, that's not cool because I don't want my picture on this. Like, this ain't about me. And I reached out to Brianna. I call her my little cousin. She's one of my former students, one of my former athletes. She's from New York. Shout out to her and Bernard, they're twins. And I said, Bri, I need this to come from you. I need you to create my logo. I don't want it to come from some business, some organization. I want it to be full circle. So she created a logo for me. And so this is the polo, which is a 101 because I don't have any runs yet. And I want to bring this a little closer. This is the logo of running towards the future. Okay. As you can see there is a bridge. Mm-hmm. She created that because she is from New York City. And she said when she was driving on the Brooklyn Bridge, that literally brought that to her mind. And the reason why she wanted to put a bridge onto it is because when she asked me, okay, what is running towards the future about? I was like, well, mentorship, community, space, coaching, scholarships, advocacy, like all these things came to mind that I wanted to be in this space. And she was like, okay, coach, that's a lot. Cool, bet. I'm going to build a bridge because it's going to represent what running towards the future brings, because it's not just about running, right? You're doing more than that, yes. So what does running towards the future offer now? We offer income-based training. What is income-based training and why do you offer that? Because what I noticed is that working in the low-income communities here in charter schools and public schools out here, I worked in South Central, I worked in Southgate, I worked in Ball Heights. Ball Heights is in East LA. Southgate is in it's called, I think, right, Southeast Los Angeles, and then South Central is in, you already know. So working in these areas, what I noticed is two things. There is so much athletic talent. It's insane. Second, there are no opportunities for these families to get affordable coaching because what ends up happening is that you get these suburban coaches or these high level coaches that say, hey, I can train a kid and get them to the next level, but you got to pay me $150 an hour. Can you do it? Nah, I can't. Okay, cool, bet, bye. And then the kid loses the passion. He goes to high school or goes to college and never plays again. And it's in there, and then it's a what if story, right? Oh, I was this good in middle school, but like I just no. So running towards the future, my goal is to offer, not goal. What we offer is high level training at affordable cost. There is a scale we use when families apply through an interest form on our Instagram, and you tell us how much you make. Once you tell us how much you make, we create a price for you. We send you that price in an email. We have a discussion through Zoom. You tell us if it's affordable. Because our goal is to bring you high level. Not, no, because you pay us $20, we're going to give you the lowest coach. We bring you the highest level of coaching so your son or daughter or child can make it to the next level. Okay? And now, what does that help out with? Obviously, skill building, but exposure. Because now, since you are increasing your skill, you're able to play in many different areas. And now what does that help you with going into high school, making a team, and then making a team also helps you build confidence to play in college. What I'm seeing now is that a lot of these kids don't think they can play in college due to everybody thinking I have to be D1. Our goal is to expose kids to NINA, NJCAA, NCAA Division II and Division III, so kids know that they can play at all different levels and still love the game. So that is what we offer right now. There's a bunch of lanes we want to get into. We want to have safe, competitive sports leagues. We want to have community events where we have movie nights, bowling nights, right? Potlucks, right? Gatherings. We're going to be able to offer scholarships to kids. And that's the reason why we want kids to attend running tours, because that money that they're paying for that high level coaching, right, at income-based training, we put half of that money back into the nonprofit so we can build scholarships opportunities for the kids. And that's for them to major in sports. We want to get more kids who look like us in sports, community relations, agents, marketing, ownership. And so those are lanes that we want to get into. We're not there yet. So income-based training is the main one that we offer right now. I currently have 2 families underneath the Running Towards the Future belt, and it's been really well. We do a trial session for the first one where families are able to see how I coach. It's free, and they're able to say, hey, I want to move forward. Like, you know what, this is not really working out. And the goal is to build a family. It's not, oh, yeah, come here, this is a transaction, you pay me, I train them. It's like, yo, like house school. Do you have any extracurricular activities going outside of this? Can we attend them? Can we support it anyway? We want to celebrate birthday parties and whatnot, because at the foundational piece of what was taught to me is that when I became my coach's athlete, I became part of his family. And whatever I needed from him, I can always call and reach out.
Just the thought process or the intentionality around like what coaching meant to you, and then flipping that into what coaching can do for youth as we kind of usher them closer to the future and leading in so many different ways. And even acknowledging the reality of, like, as long as you are in sport, it don't matter where you are. Because if you're good enough, it don't matter where you start. You'll still get to whatever your ultimate destination is. But it's more so connecting that community, that family aspect to our youth, and acknowledging the natural brilliance of athleticism that naturally kind of happens upon a lot of our kids who are just, playing shoot 'em up, bust 'em up, or 21, or 5,000, whatever it is, that they're playing in the hoods of the streets and all that good stuff. But that's dope. That's dope. And Being a former athlete, I can attest to the amount of lessons that coaches inadvertently give you in mentorship, just through them wanting you to be better at the sport, but then also be a better student and be a better contributor to life and society and things of that nature. So if you really happen across a coach that cares about you, the sky's the limit, because the method is the sport, but you get so much more than whatever you produce, on the field or on the court, or in the pool, when you are dealing with someone who sees coaching as so much more than just teaching you how to play a sport.
The scholarships, right? What are you using the scholarship for? For them just to go to college? Or is there other offers going with the scholarships?
So this is something that, like, obviously is still work in progress, and I love that you brought it up. I hate when people, let me not say hate. I dislike when I see a lot of these schools say college preparatory, because the only reason why I went to college because my mom told me I had to go, and then I wasn't gonna go. And the reason I did go was because my coach told me, like, hey, you want to keep running track and field? I'm like, yes, I love track and field. Okay, go to college and run. I was like, oh, bet. So our goal as the founder, and I don't have a lot of staff, really. Shout out to Tanji. He was my basketball coach. He ended up moving back to Boston, so I'm down to myself. But pretty much, we're running towards the future. Our goal for the scholarships are to increase the amount of minorities involved in sports from a career standpoint. So that means, like, the goal is, like, get them to go to college, right? Because a lot of those jobs require 4-year degrees. Mm-hmm. And then second, those scholarship opportunities can be used for anything, right? So the goal is that once you get a part of running towards the future, right? Right now, let's say, for instance, we have 3 kids. Automatically, those 3 kids will qualify because there's only 3. But eventually down the line, we will have to have them apply. But the goal is that you use that scholarship for whatever you want to, right? My idea is that we create specific scholarships for certain things, right? Art school, right? Sports science, right? Business marketing, right? Culinary. But also created for kids to use when, like, hey, I want to get this, I'm applying, I get this scholarship, it's deposited into my account. You use that for, like, whatever you got to use it for. You're the recipient of it, right? And we also got to understand that, like, just even though if I'm going to college, I still got to do something that I got to pay, right? So, like, I want to be able to help families financially, right? And that means, like, being able to form it into a scholarship so you can be a recipient of it and you use it for whatever you want to. Do we want specific scholarships? For sure. Because I remember growing up and I was nervous to apply to scholarships because my grades were bad. But I want to erase that GPA qualification. Woo, bye. I want to get to know you as a person. So now the only reason why you didn't get a scholarship versus this one, because maybe this person kind of wrote a little bit more, described himself in a different way, versus, like, I defined you by a GPA. Because that doesn't mean that you're a better person than this person. They just weren't interested in school. So to answer that question, increase the amount of minorities in sports from a career perspective, help kids, help young adults financially when it comes to affordability for college, certifications, trade schools, and third, to also assist and help financially when it comes to hardships for families in that transition going from the household into college. Also understanding that this wasn't my journey, but other people's journey. Some of these young adults were like breadwinners for their families growing up because, it was one parent in the household, so they had to work full time. Mm-hmm. That's a realistic thing. And so how can we support, because that young adult isn't going to go off to college and play sports. They're worried about their family. They don't give 2 craps how skilled they were or how much a coach told them, like, hey, if you go off, you can make it. Nah, bro, if I leave right now, I'm the one working because my mom can't or my dad can't, and I got 2 younger siblings. How can you help me there? So providing financial stability or assistance for families as well, too.
And my last question. what is from here on? What is your next? What do you see yourself, and what is your next goals? Um, Scratch that. Scratch that. Actually, what I'm going to ask you is, you had a
I like
podcast
that.
you was telling me about. You had a podcast you was telling me about. Where is that at? Where is that going? And what is that podcast about?
Man, always hitting the daggers, man. He just, but I love it though. I love to talk. I love to talk. I like hearing people's stories. I like telling stories. I like interviewing people. So the podcast is called the Journey in Jersey podcast, or you just say the Journey in Jersey. Shout out to Makai. Shout out to my line brother. Uh, Pretty much, we created this space. I can't say because, well, yeah, because even though no one's inhabited this space yet, we created this space where the goal. Okay, so sorry, I'm okay. Let's talk. All right, so in running towards the future, I wanted to interview students and I wanted to tell their stories. And then I was sitting back. I'm always in my head talking about things. My magic knows, and pretty much I spoke to my line brother about it, and he kind of gave me advice on it being two separate entities. Like let running towards the future operate, and then also have your own podcast because if you intertwine the two, it might get a little messy. And so I sat at his house. Shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Kitchen for letting me be over there for days trying to figure out what is the name of this podcast going to be because I wanted to include the cultural aspect. I wanted people to know the upbringing of the athlete, right? Did you get involved in sports at a young age or you didn't? Why didn't you? Did your family have a background in sports? Did your family let you play sports? Were they supportive, right? Did you have someone dropping you off? All that nitty and gritty stuff, right? And then we get into the jersey aspect, right? So that's the journey. We get into the jersey aspect, right? Were you a star player? Did you come off the bench? Were you an alternate for a relay, right? Like, how was that experience, right? Were you a high scorer? Were you the fastest? Were you the most aggressive? So this podcast goal was to expose the inner city youth who don't get exposed on these big national platforms. We wanted to do charter schools. We wanted to do like these small like LAUSD schools. We wanted to use this platform to help get these athletes exposure, to get more recruitment, to get them involved into or get exposed to more colleges and more opportunities. Also to provide funding to the Journey and Jersey podcast. We would use athletes from running towards the future, so it would be like a whole machine movement. And then we would be able to like offer scholarship funds through the Journey and Jersey podcast to these actual athletes, but also just using it for exposure, right? Like I don't know Jose down the street that plays basketball at this small charter school. That's D5 in LA. Because the only people that they pay attention to is D1 through 3. And if I have him on the podcast and I upload his video, the audience that's going to see it are families, his friends, and we tag a bunch of colleges, right? And so where we are in it right now, we shot the first episode. It never published. I take responsibility for that. My cousin has been on my back about it and holding me accountable. And honestly, I shout out to Aaron Padilla. He's one of my former students. He goes to Cathedral. He runs track and field and cross country. I just messaged him last week. I wish I could show you the screenshot. I was like, hey, let me interview you. I want you to be the first interview on like the podcast. And he was like, bet. He was like, I'm in Big Bear training for cross country. We get back next weekend. I'll let you interview me. And so that's where we are. I'm going to talk to my LB.
And one thing I want to say before I forget is, can you mention? Could you ask? Can I interview you? Who inspired you to want to be an interviewer and do these type of podcasts and learn how to talk more?
Shout out to Jazzy. If you don't know who Jazzy is, you should. She's one of the biggest podcasters, journalists. That's the word I want to use. I'm really big on like calling. Like I hate when people call. Um, hey, can you get the janitor to come over versus calling a custodian? Right? Like you got to give respect on all different levels. And so she is a journalist. One of the many people who I look up to. Her Instagram, I think, is like Jazzy World TV or Jazzy TV, and she's Panamanian. She started out very young, I think like age 12, it might even be 13, and pretty much she literally identifies with her culture. She talks about it on her podcast, her Instagram, and when she does these interviews, she was just going out on a whim. She recently interviewed Tom Holland, Jay-Z, LeBron James. She got invited by Panama and CONCACAF, where she went to all of the World Cup games. I was actually able to interview her. And when I tell you I lost my marbles doing it, I was just so excited. And I asked her, and she was so down to earth to let me do it. And she was somebody who inspired me because before I always wanted to interview people, like a little while ago, I didn't know on what type of realm. It was like people during the live stream when it was COVID and I was working at Kid, I did interviews. And I remember Mr. T was like, dude, you're really good at interviewing people. He's like, really good? He was like, who came up with the questions? I was like, I did. He was like, did you write them down? I was like, no, they're on the top of my head. He was like, that's really good. And so I remember like, I should do this. And seeing Jazzy do it inspired me. I was like, yo, she's so young and she's like all over the world interviewing people and talking about like being Afro-Latina and like asking them about their profession and their passion. And it's not about drama. I hate when journalists and people interview athletes and the first question you want to ask is, yeah, I want to ask you about the divorces going on. Bro, he just dropped 30 and 12. Why are you asking him about a divorce? What does that have to do with it? And so just seeing Jazzy doing that, it inspired me so much. And now I'm just like, I got to lock in on this passion. And I want to take this step forward and just getting the Journey in Jersey podcast up and running because it's gonna be my passion. Involving youth and amplifying their voices so people can hear. Parents can synthesize. Oh shoot, this student just said that their parents didn't support them growing up in sports, and now they didn't play sports until late. And what happened with them playing sports late? They didn't pursue it into college because they didn't feel like they were good enough. If I'm a parent, like, oh shoot, I need to support my kids. I just seen this interview, so that yeah.
That's dope.
God, Dad.
Now I would say he was talking about her, and I'm like, that name sounds familiar. And then when you said she started when she was like 11, 12, I was like, oh, the girl that just interviewed Jay-Z again after or during the concerts.
Concert, right?
Yeah, it was during the concerts. Yeah, she been interviewing for a minute. And I'm no stranger to also being inspired by youth who are doing things beyond their comprehension or understanding, but it's just the way that their village, their community has built them up to believe that they can do anything. Marley, I forget her last name, but there's a young girl who I actually had up on the wall. I had a culture wall when I was working at 34 School in Rochester, and I had a bunch of young youth on the wall, and they were like, well, why are these people on there? I was like, well, they're 11, 10 years old. One of them, she has her own lemonade company. I can't remember what the lemonade company is. And that lemonade company is now in every major retailer.
Talking about Walmart and stuff.
Yeah. She started as just a little lemonade stand, and now she's in Whole Foods and Walmart and Wegmans and all the different things. Marley was the first black girl to read like 500 books, and then she noticed that there was no diversity in the books that she was reading in school, so she created a depository of a bunch of books that represent girls, young youth that look like her. And now she has a whole brand around, being a avid reader of books of diversity, and she collects it and collects the different books and things of that nature. So that's dope. Jazzy is another one that I've watched along the way, and she's doing dope things. So that's dope that you even got an interview for that, because I would assume that there's even more guardedness because she's she's a minor, to be able to even talk to her, because I would assume you have to be vetted in multiple ways in order to just get, the conversation started, because, she's a youth, and we all know youth safety is the most important thing. So that's dope.
Yep. Nah, it was crazy that I got that interview. It was crazy. Yeah. Like I was like extremely excited. She asked her mom and dad in Spanish, and they said yeah. And then she just asked me like what questions I was gonna ask her, and so told her, and she was like cool. And that video blew up. I've tagged her like 3,000 times. No response yet. I was like, yo, I want to see her again, and I just want to, just shout out to her for just chasing her dreams and her aspirations. And like you said, the youth really don't know. And this is not insulting her intelligence at all. The youth really don't know what they're doing on a deeper scale than what they're doing, right? They're like, I'm just pursuing my dream. But what you don't even understand is that pursuing your dream is literally inspiring and like pouring into other people, right? Who are like, dude, like I see this like 12, 13-year-old making it happen. And she started somewhere. Mm-hmm. We got to also remember that too. Like before anybody blows up, they started somewhere, and I remember I know we're closing up. One thing I will say is she showed a video of her interviewing Tom Holland years ago. And so when the Spider-Man movie came out, she was invited to like the viewing, and Tom Holland's there, she's interviewing him, and I don't know how something came up, and then they go way back. It's like a video of like when she was like 12 or like 13, and Tom Holland's in the interview. You started somewhere.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But the youth, I just love how the youth chase their passion and dreams, and they don't even know what they're doing until later on in life, how you inspired, you motivated, and you have all these people following their passion because of what you did. Somebody who probably doesn't want to be a journalist got inspired by jazz because they just seen a 16-year-old interviewing one of the biggest rap artists in the world. One of the biggest. You're interviewing LeBron James, who literally calls you by your first name. And he's not running away from the interview. He's engaging in the conversation. You just inspired a whole group of 16-year-olds to pursue whatever they want to do in life because of what you're doing. And knowing how transparent she's been about her journey, her culture, her identity, her upbringing, how humble she is, how grateful she thanks people. She's like, she doesn't take it for granted. And that's just amazing, man. It's I can go into so much more detail, but a huge shout out to her. I really appreciate her taking the time out, letting a young man like me or an old man like me interview her. It just gives me the fire to really get started on what I've been needing to get started on, like Magic's been telling me about.
Dope. Just to put a name to it, it was so the lemonade brand is Me and the Bees Lemonade. Okay. By her name is Michaela Ulmer. She started when she was 4 years old. When she got stung by a bee. She got stung by a bee at 4 years old. Her first lemonade, they don't have an age on here, but she made her first lemonade 2011. So, and she was she was 4 years old in 2009. So they took that and ran with it. And then Marley Diaz is the other black girl that I was talking about. And she has a campaign, 1,000 Black Girl Books. She started that when she was like, I want to say like 14 years old or 12. 13 years old.
Young, man.
Mm-hmm.
Youth,
Magic.
they will.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah. Go ahead, man.
Oh no, I was gonna say where we going? Internet taught me.
Yes, sir.
All right, you want to explain it?
So we have a segment called "The Internet Taught Me." So you can tell. Can you tell us what the internet? If it might not been anything, but we all millennials on this podcast, and we are
Hmm.
all. Some are addicted, some are not. But no matter how many times you get on that phone and you scroll, you're going to learn something that you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us something that the internet taught you this week or taught you before, since this is your first time on the show? And it could be
This
anything.
week, this week, or taught me before, and it could be about.
Anything.
Oof.
It
Anything.
don't even matter.
It don't matter. It could be a person. It could be a thing.
A
It could be
skill.
a skill.
Mm-hmm.
It could be Sega Genesis. It could be anything.
It could be it reminded you. I do it all the time. If I don't have it, something that it taught me, it's something that I felt the
That
internet reminded me.
reminded you that you forgot. Like me, for instance,
Um.
I bring one up.
Yeah.
I watched the I bring up my original one, and then I bring up a reminder. Nostalgia hurts. The reason why I say nostalgia hurt is because I watched a Kodak commercial, and that shit almost brought tears to my eyes because it just reminded me when I first seen that commercial as a kid. And it's like I'm no longer that kid anymore. I got fucking bills and all types of shit going on. And that shit hurted my heart like damn, like I'm really going to fuck up. That's what the internet reminded me. But the internet taught me this week is about Percy LaVon Julian. Percy LaVon Julian was a pioneer American research chemist and entrepreneur. What he did was made a massive contribution to fire safety during the World War II through this invention of phone. Damn, I can't talk shit. Aerophone. It was basically the fire extinguisher that blew foam out. He's the person that invented it. He also invented. He also paved the way for synthetic pills, like steroids and birth control pills. Um, he in 1953 he became one of the first Black Americans to own a major chemical research company, which he later sold for millions. He was born in 1899. He died in 1975. He's not named a lot, especially when it comes to fire safety and a lot of the chemical pills such as steroids or testosterone pills. He's one of the people that paved the way for it at a cost-efficient process of doing it. Percy LaVon Julian.
Word.
Hmm. Okay. I feel like I might do this wrong, but just try. So the internet taught me. So I want to go see Odyssey recently, and really good movie. Greek mythology. Shout out to my brother Carlos. He is a fanatic when it comes to Greek mythology and history. And so I see Odyssey, and then it's about Odysseus, right? His journey to go back to Ithaca. And then I think a lot of people here have seen Troy. It came out in 2004, right? We're all older, so we've seen it. But I didn't see it for a long time. So I want to go. So I watched Troy yesterday, and I remember watching Troy, and in the movie Troy, Achilles is a character. Achilles is a demigod, right? His mom is like a god of the sea. His dad was a king. And I watched the whole Troy. It was centered around Achilles, and you see Odysseus like here and there. If you didn't watch Troy before, I'm gonna spoil it for you. This movie's 22 years old. Achilles dies in Troy over a girl, right? He wanted to save her. Pretty much, he goes in to Troy to go save her. He's not trying to fight anymore. His demise was already kind of told. Like he already knew he was gonna die. So he goes to save the girl. He gets shot in the Achilles heel because pretty much the story goes that He is a demigod, but his mom dipped him in this river to protect him. But she held him by his heel. So his weak spot is his heel. Reason why I'm telling this story is because I was wondering why in the movie Odyssey, why was Achilles not mentioned, right? He's such a prominent character in Troy, and Odysseus was in Troy. He's the one who created the Trojan horse. They entered through Troy, and they used that to infiltrate and destroy. So I look up the internet. I'm a big person on if anybody says anything and it doesn't sit right, I challenge it. So I go on Google. I'm like, hey, why wasn't Achilles in Odyssey? And then Google showed me that the producer took Achilles out of Odyssey because he wanted Odyssey to focus on Odysseus' journey back home. And since Achilles is such a strong, prominent character, that because he is a demigod, because everybody knows who Achilles is, he would have took space away from Odysseus. Now, in the poem, and I don't know, I don't remember his name. Shout out to the person who wrote the poem. In the poem, there is a part where Odysseus goes to the underworld. He meets Achilles in the underworld, where Hades is. And he tells Achilles, like, the main reason why Achilles wanted to fight into the war, because Achilles was like, listen, I want to be remembered. I want everybody to know my name. I want to be a legend. And later on down the line in Troy, in the movie, he realizes, like, yo, like, I kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. So Odysseus sees Achilles inside of, like, the underworld, a.k.a. hell. He's like, yo, Achilles, everyone talks about you, bro. You're a legend. Like, everybody remembers you. And Achilles looks at him and not verbatim, but tells him, like, yo, I'd rather be a slave to a rich man in the real world where I'm alive than to be the king of hell down here. And I'm glad I read it up, and shout out to the internet. Pretty much Achilles realized that being a war legend didn't mean anything to being alive on Earth. And so, shout out to the internet because it hurt me. I got so mad. I'm like, yo, if they would have put this part in the Odyssey, well, I do understand why, because so many people would have circled around it. And that would have been such a big part. So, that's what the internet taught me. I know that was a big story, but shout out to the internet because I would have never knew that.
Nah, you did that right. I don't know why you thought you was going to do it wrong. You did that right, brother.
Nah, I appreciate it.
Okay, so for me, the internet taught me. I still got to go see Odyssey. The internet taught me that these places, Puerto Rico, Arizona, well, one of the largest reservoirs in Arizona, and then these two countries in Europe, Hungary and Romania, are running out of water. So in Puerto Rico right now, in San Juan in particular, you have to go 1 day with water and 2 days without water. In Arizona, one of their largest reservoirs is down to 1% capacity. And then in Europe, the Danube River water level is so low, it's showing shipwrecks from World War II and woolly mammoth bones. And then in Hungary, which the river flows through, they have to shut down a nuclear power plant because there's not enough water to cool it. And that same power plant provides 50% of Hungary's electricity. And then in Romania, the same problem. They have to shut down one of their power plants, nuclear power plants, because there's not enough water to cool it. And that all comes back to the earth is getting hotter. And these white men in particular, these white men who are politicians and not taking science seriously in their mismanagement of natural resources, is affecting our fresh water supply. And because of global warming, we are running out of water in different parts of the globe. That's the internet taught me. I seen that and I was like, oh, that's crazy. 1 day on and 2 days off. That's insane.
Yo, I literally was about to emphasize that because that's insane.
That's insane.
Jesus, I didn't know that was happening in Arizona either. I know Puerto Rico, but I didn't know Arizona. And that's literally 7 hours for me.
Yeah, that's that. Like, they showed it was a TikTok. So they showed like a picture from a drone or a helicopter, whatever they took, and you can see like the water is just not there. And it was like, yeah, this used to be a boat dock, and it's just vegetation. It's just green. It's grass. So yeah, that's crazy. But that's what the internet taught me. It was a random fact. Magic?
Song of the week, huh?
Yeah, song of the week. Let's get it.
So we do song of the week. What song have you been listening to? What song been sticking out to you for the week? Me, I'm still on Larry June, man. And right now I'll probably say my Larry June song of this week will be, I can't remember what I said last week, but I'm gonna say this week is Everything Liquid.
I don't think you said that last week.
Yeah, Everything Liquid is my Larry June song of this week.
All right. Mine, it's not something that I've been listening to consistently, but of late I've been letting my Apple station kind of play music through, and one of my favorite albums from one of my favorite hip hop albums from the women's side is Hot Pink by Doja Cat, and Like That came on featuring Gucci, and that was a dope song. I think that whole album is dope, but my song of the show, Like That, Doja Cat featuring Gucci.
I'm so excited that I just asked this question because I've been listening to this song and I don't remember the song name, so that hurts. The artist is Queen. Dang, I wish we could go through like the songs right now, but I know we can't. But the artist is Queen, and it's one of like the dopest songs ever. Like, when this gets posted, I'm gonna comment the song in the name because I love that song a lot. I love it. That would probably be the song of the week for me. I've been listening to it like every day. But
Is it a person or is it a group? The group. I know the Queen.
I think Queen is a group.
Group, right? Yeah. I know
think
the
so.
group, man.
Yeah.
So they sing "We Are the Champion."
Yes. But that's not the song though. But I'm so mad. Yeah. That's
It's
it.
okay. It's okay. No, don't blow a gasket. Trying to think about it.
That's a good one though. Now it's gonna bother you now because you know the song. It's right at the tip of your tongue.
I'm gonna listen to it in the car. Like, soon as I leave from here, I'm gonna listen to it in the car. Like, come on.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Any last things, Magic, before we wrap up? It's been a dope
I
episode.
ain't got nothing. Got nothing. What about you?
Just go and vote for when
primaries.
When this drop. I ain't talking about primaries.
What are you talking about?
The 24th. Yeah, so when this drop, we got a week or 5 days for South by Southwest.
South by Southwest. And primaries done, I think. Primaries should be done.
Primaries should be done, yeah. It'll be midterm. Make sure y'all vote for that or pay attention to y'all
November.
local elections because it's a lot of house flipping going on.
First Tuesday in November.
First Tuesday in November. Yep. And then just make sure to vote us in to South by Southwest to record live. See if it happens. Anything you got, Fredo? Any announcements? Anything coming up?
No.
Anything you wanted to say that you didn't get to say?
Shout out to my mom and my dad. It's a big thing. I always want to get them a huge shout out. Phyllis Parker, my mom. She's in Rochester, New York right now. Love her to death. I wouldn't be here without her. Huge shout out to my pops, Alfredo Chavez Chavez Jr. Rest in peace to him as well. Shout out to my brother Carlos Crossman Chavez for his pinning is going to be Monday, August 24th. He finished his RN school, so he's officially a RN nurse, registered nurse with a bachelor's degree. Really proud of my brother. He's been amazing. He's done great things, and so I'm just really proud of him as well. Um, uh, I think that's just it right now. Yeah, for the time being. It's a lot of great things happening in my life, Certain things I'm gonna keep on the wraps for right now that will be, let out soon. But yeah, that's it.
I'm surprised I didn't hear no go Yankees or go Spurs, but that's okay. We'll say it next time.
Well, I
I
got the
mean,
hat on. I want to make sure I represent New York. These people in LA always talking they smack, and then I do have a pen that my one of my former students gave me. She made it for me right before I left Kit. So it says, oh, Coach Chavez will miss you. And I was really appreciative. So I keep it on this hat. This is a hat that my brother Carlos bought me as well. So it's really special to me. So, yeah, that's it, man. That is it.
And happy belated birthday.
or happy belated
Appreciate it,
birthday.
man. Appreciate it. Happy birthday to my mentor, Gramps. Walter Larkins here, and today's his birthday. You know what I'm saying? So his birthday is the 16th. My older brother Shamar birthday is the 15th, and then mine is the 13th. And my niece Mina is the 12th. Yeah. Oh, and my niece Gigi is the 13th. A lot of Leos, man.
A lot of Leos.
Need some more of them in it.
No, we don't. Go ahead, Dev. We don't need to talk about that no more.
Well, we appreciate you for coming on the show. As we say, you always invited on the show to have partaking conversation. As you are, wherever you are, it doesn't matter. You can come. Just let us know. And yeah, y'all already know. I'm King Dev. That's Magic Gretzky. We have Fredo on the show today. Bring another set of ears for next week's show, because this is Introspective Insight, the Black Wall Street podcast, and we out.
See you soon. Come back next week. Introspective Insight. Introspective Insight.